when you're grading a play like Blake's punt, that the guys were in place to down it and they did everything right, and the grass was just made them go into the end zone. Do you come out of that as a coach saying we did that exactly perfectly and stuff happens, or is there something that could have been done in your eyes that where you get it down inside the 5 or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, there's a way we want to be able to coach that play with everybody on the field. It starts with protection, snap, like all that stuff, and the ball gets punted. Blake had a really good punt on that play, checked up. We're in position to help make that play. Joey kind of slips, right, but does enough to keep the ball from going into the end zone. The momentum's still kind of rolling that way, and unfortunate for us, we had 2 guys who could have impacted that play. It's something we practice all the time, but didn't come up with there. So, I mean, the coaching points, going forward is, adverse conditions, like got to be a little bit more under control when we get there. But, the effort is really good. Guys are doing what we're asking them to do. Just didn't come up with the play.
Speaking of adverse conditions, you've got those. You've got a new kicker. How do you incorporate all that when you're constructing your own game plan? You've got those variables.
Yeah, welcome to NFL special teams. As the season goes on, you're always going to have attrition, and whether it's one of your specialists, maybe it's a positional player, even the guys that are playing heavy 4th down roles. If a guy gets hurt in front of them, right, they're probably going to get accelerated up to having a bigger role on their side of the ball. So contingency plans is a part of what we do, and you're constantly thinking about those things. There's some that are a little bit easier to solve than others, but you got to have a plan for everything.
In terms of planning, how tough is it when you have a play where it looks like it's going to be a big turnover, and then now you have to punt again, and everybody has to go downfield, and that leads to a big punt return? How tough can that be for players to adjust to that?
Well, it happens. There's a saying I heard a long time ago, and it usually proves to be right. Nothing good happens on a repunt, and you've got to be mindful of that, right? You got to be mindful that your guys just covered a punt. If there's sometimes you can change out personnel if certain guys are available. Sometimes you got to roll with kind of what you got, because those are taxing plays. Guys have to protect for a couple of seconds and then their return, and from their standpoint, they swap the returners, right? They had 2 guys that are pretty dynamic guys back there, and they had a second guy to put in who's got fresh legs, who didn't just run around for 10 seconds or whatever. So it all factors in. We certainly could have played the play better. But yeah, it's a tough circumstance. You're thinking, hey, we're kind of waiting on a play not waiting on a play. You're hoping to make a play that's going to change the game. Yeah, it happens. Gets negated by offsetting penalties, and you got to roll at it again.
What should have happened on the coverage on the second punt?
Tackle the returner. No, it's a leverage play. So I mean, he's trying to run to the edge. We have different guys responsible for different lanes in coverage or different responsibilities in coverage. There's some guys that we're training that if the ball's running north-south, like that's your responsibility. If the ball's running east-west, that's your responsibility. It's like defensive football. If somebody gets kind of out of whack, it usually is going to be a good play for them. If you have multiple guys, get out of where they're supposed to be, then it becomes an even bigger play for them. The effort on that play to get the ball down went to Blake. And if you go back and watch that play, they had a lot of big guys in their group. It was kind of a shorter yardage punt, and one of their defensive linemen blocked Blake. He got knocked to the ground. He gets back up and was able to make the tackle on the sideline. So fortunate for us, we got on the ground and gave us a chance to play defense on the next play.
Is there any part of you, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago with the 49ers guy, but given that you're already dealing with an injury on the kicker side, is there any part of you that cringes a little bit when Blake's getting involved in the play like that?
Sure. I mean, those guys, you hope it never gets to them. The reality is it's going to at some point. So we try to talk about what we should and shouldn't do on certain plays, but on that particular play, if he bails out of the way, the ball's going to the end zone. So, you don't want those guys to be making tackles for sure.
How many tackling reps do kickers get in practice?
I mean, not a lot. It's because of their job description, right? Like, you're not trying to put guys in harm's way, but you have to train them enough to where they can function in games if something like that were to happen. But if I were to tell you that we were doing live tackling with our specialists, I'd be lying.